Hello Linux fans, Rob here. Welcome to Linux Quest, and I am pretty excited to go over the newly updated Elementary OS Loki 4.1. Now they're calling this a major update, and I'm going to say after reading back and seeing what's been rolled up into this update, I would have to agree. So let's launch in to take a look at that real quick, and then we're going to go through and look at everything we can here in a decent amount of time, hopefully, and look at the changes they talk about. So they go on to say here they are proud to release a major update to Elementary OS Loki. They're talking about the hardware enablement stack and updates that include things like the new App Center, and we'll definitely take a look at that. A lot of things going on there. For some, it may be controversial what's going on with the App Center. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's a great idea, and I love the implementation. So we're definitely going to focus in on the App Center. But also what you're going to see here, and those of you who are not familiar with Elementary OS, it's based off of Ubuntu. So now we're seeing an updated core to 16.04.2. And also an update to the Linux kernel, a more current 4.8, which is going to improve your support on the hardware side of things. They list here Intel Kaby Lake chipsets, but that 4.8 jump includes other hardware compatibility as well as performance improvements. So in the past, if you've got like really new hardware, maybe Elementary had issues with your hardware, you may want to give it another look with this updated kernel. Now they get into the updates to Loki. As far as the roll-up all the way back to December up to April. If you've been running Elementary OS and you've been doing your updates, you're probably already there at 4.1. I installed this fresh myself because I really wanted to dig in and see, what all visually had changed and really, find out for myself firsthand by installing it. So let's talk about some of the highlights here, and then we'll move over and take a look at everything within the desktop and the OS. So notable updates include a significant upgrade to Epiphany, and I haven't dug into all those details. Epiphany is the web browser, their default web browser for Elementary. Several fixes in files, a redesigned metadata sidebar for the photos, new Bluetooth settings, a new microphone indicator, and Bluetooth device controls in the sound indicator. There's a lot going on up here, and I'm going to spend a little time here because this is an awesome implementation. It's finally, I think, exactly where it needs to be. A brightness slider in the power indicator, the ability to start an App Center search from the application menu. We'll take a look at that. Look and feel updates, better support for CJK input methods, better translations, and more. So, and here's a shot of the App Center, which we'll take a look at. Now, I really like the idea behind what's going on with the App Center, and in fact, let's just jump right into the App Center and take a look at that and talk about it in a minute. So again, not radically different. You still have these large tiles listing the categories, and if you go into a main category, then you've got a list. And you'll see here now, though, instead of just saying install, it says free. Well, there's a reason for that. The big reason for that is because the Elementary team has put together, I'll call it a program for lack of better words, or a project that allows an independent developer to create an app. They can get involved and upload that app to the Elementary OS App Center. Now, in doing that, you as the user will have some options. Now, I'm going to go to Nimbus, and this is created by Daniel Foray, who is one of the lead developers with Elementary OS. And most of you, if you're familiar with Elementary, you know exactly who Daniel is. Very talented. But so Daniel's put this app here called Nimbus. See outside without going there. See the current temperature and weather conditions for your location with this minimal color changing applet. So you'll see here $1. Well, does that mean it costs $1? No. What that is that gives you an option to pay what you want. Now, you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, this is Linux, free and open source. Isn't all this stuff supposed to be free? Well, this app could be free. You could simply type 0, telling Daniel that you didn't want to pay anything for it and you want it to be free. So it is a choice. It is an option. So before people get all hung up on, wait a minute, you mean you've got paid for apps in your app center? Come on, this is Linux. Before you get all up in arms, I want to make it clear to you, just in case you weren't, that this is a pay what you want. This is optional. Now, I love it because if there is an application, and this is where you put in your credit card information and that kind of thing. Now, that's an area, okay, granted, that's an area you want to do your homework. You want to make sure that this app center is going to be set up as securely as possible. So that's an area where take your time if you decide to pay for an app before you put in your credit card information. Do your research. Make sure you're comfortable with the payment center and system that they have in place as far as security. But here's where you put that info in, and then you could pay $1. Now, I don't see it really as paying, really. In a lot of cases, I see it as donating. If I appreciate the work and I want to donate or pay, get hung up on words, I love it. I love the fact that that option is there. And I appreciate that it's all been put in a very, very nice, easy to navigate package. And I hope that this becomes a success. I hope that this is motivation for talented developers out there to create some beautiful, wonderful applications for the GNU Linux platform that allows more users to see what's going on, to appreciate what's going on, and to get involved. I just think that this is nothing but a good thing. Now, that's my humble opinion. I'm sure there are going to be many opinions who disagree with that or have other thoughts about it. But I'm really thrilled to see how this came together. Now, also in the App Center, you're going to see updates. This was one that I left or updated earlier. I should have left it because I wanted you to see the notification in area and things like that when you actually do the update. Let's go back here, and I'm going to install something here. Let's see. All right, let's install an alarm clock. So you'll see here that that is free. So we'll go back, and I could just click on free here, and then you're going to see a pop-up for your password. Make sure I type that correctly, and you'll see activity here that it's installing, committing changes, so on and so forth. Simple, straightforward, as it should be. One thing I would like to see up here is on a paid app, and I've just noted, or excuse me, on a donate app or pay-as-you-go app. I have to get used to saying that. I would like to see, now this is very minimal, very simple, but what I would like to see on other, let's see if this one, nope, that one's free. Notes up, nope, that one's free. Okay, now let's see here. Let's find one that is not. It's probably going to be here. Let's look at this. Nope, that one's free. All right, I'm striking out. Let's see. Bookworm. Okay, that's a pay-as-you-go. So what I would like to see here is probably a little more description and or more photos. Now that may come. Before I make a decision on what I would want to pay before I install it. Now I could go back. I guess I could pay nothing, make it free, use it, then if I like it, come back and then maybe pay. So perhaps that's a process. But at any rate, I think instead of just having to go to the home page, which is fine, I'd like to see maybe more images and more of a description about the application. I think that would be an improvement. All right, let's move on from there because there's other things I want to share with you. But definitely great work here. Beautiful. It's, the design is in keeping with the rest of the OS, which is really, really attractive. All right, let's look at the applets up here and some of the changes. So now we see a microphone icon because I've plugged in my external mic. If I click on that, I've got options, and it's the same options you'll see here in the volume icon. So I can adjust on the fly, toggle on or off my output and input. You've got access to the music app. I don't have music set up, but rewind, fast forward, and play. And then you could launch right into sound settings for the more detailed sound settings, which again is laid out, easy to understand, gives you everything you need. So nice to see that. And then Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and you'll notice you get deeper settings with all of these. Here's one I really love, especially really think that this is something everyone should do. So here I don't just see the battery for my laptop, but I also see the battery for my wireless keyboard and mouse. Now this is new. This is the brightness slider. And then you see this here. This is apps using lots of power. I think this is a great idea. This kind of reminds me of what you see, on a Samsung phone with Android, where you'll get a list of apps that are using a lot of power, and then you could set up actually within Android to have those turn off. That might be something to look at in the future, where you would have an option to say, hey, apps that are using lots of power that maybe have been running in the background for a set amount of time, when it reaches this amount of time, turn those apps off. Now that would be interesting to see, I think. And then you've got an option here to show percentage, but to me that pulls away from the clean look, so I'm going to turn that off. But if you were using your laptop for a long period of time, that may not be a bad feature there. You could see the percentage and keep an eye on things. And then, of course, quick launch right into power settings. Now let's go over here to notifications. You could quick toggle that to do not disturb, but then you've got notification settings that allow you to really go in and control everything. Turn off the bubbles, turn off the sounds, or completely turn off the notification center. You can also quickly switch to do not disturb for any of these applications. Really well done. And then here you've got user, guest, lock, log out, shut down, so on and so forth. Now I want to point out to you that when I go from all of these controls, they all look uniform, everything's cohesive, and it all is the right size. There's no one icon that's crazy large, out of place over the others, and the artwork for the icons and everything is all as it should be. Budgie does a good job of that too, but the spacing is good. To me, this is all just what it should be. It's I think nailed it. So happy to see that. Then you see here, this is typically transparent, and it's still transparent here. It's just because of the dark wallpaper, you start to see a little more of the panel here. You've got your clock and date with the drop down there, and again, it looks just like your drop downs here with the same coloring and everything. Nothing looks out of place, and that's what I absolutely love about Elementary OS. Now let's go over to applications, and this is a pretty sparse install, a pretty light install. If we go to accessories, you saw that I installed alarm clock. You've got calculator, scratch pad here, and then there are some updates to the screenshot tool. So here you can grab the whole screen, grab the current window, select the area to grab, and then you've got options for that. Now, I don't remember exactly what's changed here, but this is everything you need in a screenshot tool. Grab the mouse pointer, close after saving, conceal the text, and then set up a delay. So nicely done there. All right, so let's move on to graphics. And again, you're not going to see a ton of pre-installed apps here, but you've got photos, which is absolutely beautiful. I love their built-in photo app. It's a good combination of a few basic editing tools with a clean design. It's not trying to be everything to everyone, but it's also not too minimal. So you can zoom in and zoom out. And you've got quick access to various libraries, things that you've flagged. So these are some of the improvements: last import, trash, and then events by date. So those are some of the improvements. And then you see a little photo information as well. You can right click, and without opening the photo, you could go right into several things such as edit photo info, remove from the library, move to trash, or flag. You see a little flag that I put there. And so you could go in and quickly flag images and then go over to the flagged library, and it's just going to pull in just those images. So as you see there. Now if you open the image, you get some additional options. So down here, you could play a slideshow, rotate the image, flip the image, crop, straighten, red eye removal, adjust the color. Let me come out of that. And then you've got Magic Wand, which will automatically adjust things. So you saw that change. Perhaps it showed up in the video. Red eye removal, crop, So with crop, you've got square, unconstrained, screen original, so on and so forth. You've got various formats. This is so nicely done. I mean, it's one of those things where you get in and you start digging around and you really, really appreciate what's going into it. If you go into settings, you got a few preferences here. So you can choose where to import your photos to. So you can change that, set up your own custom folder. Watch the library for new files, rename imported files to lowercase. And you can choose to write the metadata to the files. Then you've got a list of plugins here, and pre-installed you had Facebook, Flickr, Google Photos, Tumblr, some option. Well, that wasn't installed, but those are options. YouTube, and then you've got various transitions for the slideshow. I mean, it's awesome. It really is an awesome photo app. All right, so let's move on here. Simple Scan, good choice. And then I installed Chromium, so you really only have two things here under Internet. The web browser, which I'm just going to say it's fine. It'll do everything you need. I like Chromium. I'll stick with that. But I'll point out here that it's in place with the other apps, the other built-in apps. It doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look foreign to the operating system, which is great. One of the things I wanted to point out, and maybe I've just never tried this. Maybe it's possible in other distributions. Maybe this is an Epiphany thing that I just wasn't aware of, but I love this feature. So we're going to go down here and I'm going to view image. And so now this image is pulled up. Let's say I want to make this my wallpaper. I can right click and go to set as wallpaper. Now you're going to see it's downloading right here. You'll get the little pop-up, and now we'll minimize this, and there it is. Now either I've just never discovered that, or I just didn't know you could do it. Maybe it's been there the whole time. I don't know. I figured it out today, found it today, and I think it's awesome. You know, I don't have to download it, then go back into another area and choose set as wallpaper. Doing it right there from the browser, brilliant. So love that. All right, and then Mail. Now, we're not going to set up Mail, but you've got an option here for Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, and other. I believe you could set up any other IMAP account there. All right, we'll go back to Office, and you're just going to see Calendar. And again, in keeping with the rest of the OS, clean in appearance, you can set up a couple of different accounts. You've got options here for color and things like that. Add a new calendar. Clean, simple, nice interface. Let's go to sound and video, where you've got camera, music, videos, and I installed Voco screen. So if we look at music, I don't have music set up currently here. For a music player, I think this does everything it needs to do. You've got a little EQ here that you can adjust. You've got a few options here under preferences for how to manage things. Again, very cohesive. It looks like it's a part of the OS. All of their own apps all look like they belong with one another. They're in the same family. It just, as you get into it and you start using everything like you typically use an operating system, it just makes sense. And then you start to look back at, say, you know, I just was working with XFCE where I had to go in and adjust theming and spend some time kind of trying to make everything look what I'm getting here out of the box. Now, color-wise and everything, you know, you got this light gray. It's more Mac-esque or Mac-ish, if you will. In fact, I was just going to say, if you've got someone who has been using Mac for years and they want to give Linux a try or GNU Linux a try, this might be, especially with this new update, this might be the one to directly go to, because I think they would feel very much at home here. And they're already used to seeing aesthetically things that look really nice within a Mac. I mean, you got to admit, you know, it looks good. So moving over to this, I think, would be maybe a good move for their first Linux distro. All right, let's keep going here. And video. So that's going to be dark, and that's simply because if you're watching a movie, you don't want light background, you want a dark background there. And last here is System Tools. We looked at App Center. Let's look at Files. Now, they say they've had improvements here. I'll have to dig in to see what all of those improvements are. You've got 3 views, so let's go into Pictures. So you've got the grid, the list, and columns. You can add tabs, and for the most part, you've got everything here you need for a capable file manager. Now, it's not going to be as configurable as Dolphin or even Thunar, but you can go in and you can add colors, which will add colors over the font so you can make it stand out. You could compress, send by email, excuse me, send via Bluetooth, and go ahead and set that as your background. Cut, copy, paste, move to trash, all that. Now, it's, again, not as configurable, and there are some hidden things here. So with some keyboard commands, you can do certain things that I had to discover last time I installed Elementary OS. You know, would it work? Would it do everything you need to do? More than likely, absolutely. Does it look like it belongs with the rest of the OS? Absolutely. You know, it doesn't look like you're using something foreign that was put in there just to use as a file manager, which is part of what I love. You don't have, this is not a live desktop. There's no right-click options by default, but you do have a very nice dock here at the bottom with subtle animations. You can pin any apps that you open. You've got a multitasking view here, so you'll see Voco screen, which I'm using. With the scroll of your mouse wheel, you can navigate from one desktop to the other. So we'll go back in, and you can remove any application that's pinned here by right-clicking on the icon. Here we could just uncheck Keep in Dock. But you've also got some controls here. So from the calendar, it makes sense that I could add an event. Nothing here control-wise for the music player. And nothing here for the video player. Let's look at photos. No options there. Let's go to settings. And no options there. But you do have, with Epiphany, you have new window or new incognito window options. So with the file manager, you could go right into new window as administrator, which would come in really handy if you wanted to perform some administrative actions. Files isn't your default file manager. Yes, it is. It's just that I've logged in as administrator. So I set that as default. We'll see what that does. I haven't found any major quirks or anything like that. I will say that there was an update once I did the fresh install. Quick update. And I'll just sum all of this up with, in the past, I've had quirky issues with Elementary. I've always wanted to love it, and I've always appreciated it. But I'd always find little quirky issues here and there. There were some discovery things that I needed to go through in the file manager, but I didn't write all of those little quirky things down or those issues down to go through that with you in detail to say, hey, before this is the problem I was having or the problems that I was having. But I've installed Elementary OS numerous times, months back, and it wouldn't last long because I would run into these small quirky issues, and there were certain things that I just felt like could be improved upon or were too limiting within the OS, and I think they're addressing that and giving you access to more controls in various areas where it's important. I couldn't attest to stability because I haven't run this but just a couple of hours, and I just wanted to jump in and share this with you. I love seeing the changes that they have made. I don't think they had to do much with the entire OS as far as how it looks and function because it was already so beautiful and so nice in a lot of ways. Time will tell as far as stability, and if I run into any major quirks or things that I just can't overcome, that's a possibility. But right now I really like what I'm seeing. I will say with the transitions that are in place, it doesn't feel as super snappy as some of the other, especially, well, okay, here's the problem. I've been running XFCE a lot lately, on the home system, and just did a video with XFCE on Antergos. And with XFCE, everything's just super snappy. It's like, bam, it's open. Bam, it's closed. Here you've got transitions and things in place that I'm not going to say it's slow. It's just that you see that transition of fade out, and it doesn't give you the feeling of the snappiness that, say, XFCE would. But beyond that, so far, Looking forward to digging in deeper with this. Hope this helps, and we will check you later.